I welcome everybody once again to Christian Apologetics Networks. Uh, I give thanks and glory to the Almighty God and Jesus Christ, who has made us a partaker of his divine promises. It is by grace that we are saved. It is not of works, lest any man should boast. And we are all saved to serve. That is, God saved each and every one of us so we can serve the vineyard of God. And in return, the Lord can use us in saving others. And this is what Christian Apologetics Networks is all about. Reaching out to our Muslim brothers, to our Muslim communities, and showing them right from their Quran, the Hadith, the Sirat, the Tafsir, how Islam cannot be the true religion, or it's not the way to eternal life. Only Jesus is. And in today's, I'll be talking about the pedophilia act of Muhammad, or what we call child marriage, and how Muhammad actually did child marriage. Before I proceed, I would want to say this so that every one of you and everyone hearing this, if you're a Muslim, you're a Christian, you are Hindu, or you're a pagan or atheist, it doesn't matter. We all need to understand and listen to this. You see, in my years of of debating and speaking with Muslims, I've gotten to know that number one, the interpretation that they give to some kind of um, surahs or verse of the Quran and some part of the Hadith and the three Sirat are always not consistent. That is, it is always different. That is the kind of the commentary or the translation that this person or the explanation that Muslim A is going to give is going to be different from that of what Muslim B is going to give. Are you with me? Take for instance, the last video I posted on this thing on the beating of wives, how Allah permitted it in the Quran. I opened the page of the Quran and everybody could see it. But to my to my surprise, when I was speaking to a Muslim friend and a Muslim friend, then he was surprised at seeing that thing also. So he told me that, look, I'm going to meet my afars, my imams, my sheikhs, and I'm going to ask them to explain this part of the Quran to me because I can. He was truthful. He said he does not know that he cannot say what he does not know. So he wants to get the proper explanation from his afars and his sheikhs and imams and thereabouts. So the man went to the mosque and confronted his sheikhs and told them that, look at this is what this person gave to me. This is the surah, this is the hadith, and then they looked at it. And then what they come up with it, what they told the man, they told this guy that, look, said Allah does not command us to beat our wives. Okay, that's what the man said. He said Allah did not say that they should beat their wives. That even if you must beat your wife, that you have to put an egg, under your armpit. Then the egg must be under your armpit while beating your wife, and the egg must not break. Once the egg break, you don't have the right to beat your wife. So the man said, okay, that's good. So he then came to me and said, hey, this is what my affairs and my sheikhs, this is what they told me. And I told him, tell your affairs and your sheikhs to give you reference from either the Quran or the Hadith or the Tafsir or the Sirat, where you were commanded as Muslims that before beating your wife, you have to put egg under your armpit before beating them. So I'm still waiting for the reply. This guy has not yet met his alphas on his sheikhs to give him the reference. And I told him point blank, I said they can't find any reference because Allah never said so. And there's nowhere in the Quran, in the Hadith, in the Surat, or in the text free that says you should put egg under your armpit before beating your wives, and the egg must not break. And the funniest part is that even some Muslim scholars, when they want to translate this same verse, they say that if you want to beat your wives, you must make sure that what you are going to use to in beating your wife must be as soft as the tip of a cloth. And the question is, where did these scholars get this thing from? None. Bring the hadith where you get this thing from. They can't bring it. How you get what I'm saying? And I gave them hadith upon hadith where Umar, the third caliph, the second caliph, or the third caliph, that is after Abu Bakr died, Umar was the next caliph. How he beat his wife. I gave references. You can watch the video. I'm going to drop the link to the video below. You can go and watch it. A lot, tons of references, all from Sahih Hadith. Are you with me? So that being said, apart from that, I come across a sheikh who says that he does not believe on the hadith that contradict the Quran. And please, folks, I want you to be so careful with me here. You see, the Quran on its own is a meaningless and useless textbook. That's a fact. If you have your time, pick up the Quran. You can read it from verse 1 to the last verse, 146 chapters, from chapter 1 to 1. Read the Quran and tell me if you understand it. Alone. You cannot read the Quran alone and be able to build content out of it and be able to develop a great understanding out of it. If you do not read the Quran with the text free and with the hadith and sirat, sometimes you will not have balanced knowledge, because there are sometimes that some revelations that Muhammad is going to get, you might not, it's not going to be written in the Quran how he got the revelation. So you have to go back to the hadith and then out or the text free, then to check out for the meaning or how it came about this. Are you with me? So the text free, the hadith, and the sirat, they did not contradict the Quran, rather they complement the Quran. Okay, because what these sheikhs, what I'm saying is that they know that most of the bad characters and the bad attributes of Muhammad and Islam generally are all written in the hadith, in the sirat, and the text free, but most of them are not written in the Quran. But when you look at the Quran and then you read it in line with the hadith and the sirat and the text free, you'll be able to develop good content out of it. Are you with me? Now look at today. I'm talking about the pedophilia act of Muhammad. That is how Muhammad married Aisha at the age of 6. And then a lot of scholars, I'm telling you this a lot of scholars, Muslim scholars, does not believe this. They do not. They will tell you he did not do it. Some even try to walk around it, and they are like saying that no, actually what he did was that they begin to give different explanation and different this thing, that Aisha was 19 when the prophet married her. Some said she was, some say actually the prophet married her at the age of 7, and then she stayed in her mother's place till she was um old enough to 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 be married off. So it was then they married her. A lot, some people say it does not even happen. Are you with me? But the truth is, from every Muslim text, it indicates that Muhammad actually carried it out. First of all, I want you to join with me. Let's look at what the Quran actually says concerning this. Now, this is Quran Surah 64, Ayah 4. And the title of this surah is At Talak. Talak in Arabic means divorce. So you cannot divorce someone that you've not married. I want you to know that first. Now, I want you to read with me. We have different translation here. Now, this is Maududit translation of Surah 64. He said, now, this is talking about the waiting period, that is, after a man divorced a woman, then the woman have to wait for some time before she gets married to another man. So this is talking about the waiting period. So these are commandments and injunctions from Allah. Now, read this me. Even when you read this verse without looking at the text free or the hadith, you would know the meaning of what Allah is actually saying here. Now read with me. He said, the waiting period of those of your women who have lost all expectation of menstruation. That is, women that have reached their menopause. Can you see this? This place is not you don't need a scholar or an Islamic theologian to come and explain this part for you. You could read, it is plain English. The waiting period of women who have lost all expectation, that is, there's no possible way that they could menstruate again. That is, they've reached their menopause, shall be 3 months. In case you entertain any doubt, so it is 3 months. Now, read the next verse. I mean the next page. He said, and the same, and what? The same shall apply to those who have not yet menstruated. Please, did you need any scholar to tell you that this is talking about young ladies that have not yet menstruated, that is, they've not experienced menstruation before? That is, this is talking about pre-pubescent girls, that is, girls that have not yet reached the age of puberty. You do not need even the test free or the hadith to tell you that the Quran and Allah himself from this verse actually supports pre-pubescent marriage, that is, underage marriage, that is, child marriage. So he said their waiting period, waiting is means either. Their either is also 3 months. So what is in this to understand? That is, from the Quran, we know for certain that Allah supports child marriage and Allah supports pre-pubescent marriage. So now the question now to you is that those that are saying that they do not believe their deeds that contradict the Quran. And the question is that if you should read the hadith or the sirat, or you read of a text free that speaks about child marriage, does that contradict the Quran? Absolutely no. Why? Because from Surah 64, Ayah 4, is that we've known that Allah himself loves or is in support of child marriage. He said, and the same shall apply to those who have not yet menstruated. And in Islam does not, you do not divorce a wife if you've not consummated the marriage with her. So there's no waiting period for a wife that you've not consummated marriage with her. Are you with me? So in Islam, if waiting period only applies to every woman that the marriage has been consummated, that is, that the husband had sexual intercourse with her, then she has to wait. There's a waiting period for that. But if Jesus got married and the husband has not yet had any sexual intercourse with the woman, there is no waiting period for any of that. Now, I haven't established this. Let us go to the Sirah, the test free, then, so that we can know what the test free scholars have to say. Even without the test free, you will know what this place actually talks about. We have the Delalane, we have Ibn Kathir, we have now look at this Ibn Abbas. Look at what Ibn Abbas said, and for such of your women as despair of menstruation because of what? Old age. I told you it was because of menopause. If ye doubt about the waiting period, their period of waiting shall be how many months? 3 months. Now, upon which another man asks, O messenger of Allah, what about the waiting period of those who do not have menstruation because they are too young, along with those who have it not because of young age? He is talking about, that is, those that their age has not yet gotten to the age of puberty, so they cannot experience menstruation. Look at this Jalalain. This Jalalain. He said, and for those of your women who no longer expect to menstruate, if you have any doubt about the waiting period, that prescribed waiting period shall be 3 months. And also for those who have not yet menstruated. Why? Because of their young age, their period. So the test free is not against what the Quran actually said. It's actually in support of what the Quran says. He said, Allah desires to clarify the waiting period of the woman in menopause. Like I said, menopause. And that is the one whose menstruation has stopped due to a older age, menopause. Ahida, that is waiting period, is 3 months instead of 3 monthly cycles for those who menstruated, which is based upon the higher in Surat Al-Baqarah. The same for the young who have not reached the years of what? Of menstruation. So the Quran is explicitly clear here. Now, if the Prophet Muhammad should should marry a child, a proportionate girl that has not yet reached the age of puberty, is the Prophet Muhammad going against the commandment of Allah? Absolutely no, because Allah has made it clear for us that he is in support of it, because he was the one that gave them the induction of the waiting period for a pre-pubescent girls. Now, now the wedding of Aisha, I mean the wedding of Aisha to Muhammad, the question is who prescribed it? Who told Muhammad to go and marry Aisha? Sahih Bukhari. Let's read it. You are going to see it here yourself. How Muhammad married Aisha. Now, this is not my writing. This is not.com. See, this is Sahih Bukhari that you can see. He said that the Prophet said, this Aisha narrated Aisha, that the Prophet said to her, "You have been shown to me twice in my dream." So one of the ways, look, now let me see, let me come here. You see, in Islam generally, Islam does not believe that Allah can speak to them directly. Even Muhammad himself has never for once heard the voice of Allah. Allah only communicated to Muhammad through the angel Jibril. So Muhammad never had any words from Allah directly. But there is one way that all Muslims believe that that Allah can speak to them, and that is through dreams. So when a Muslim dreams, they believe that this is from Allah. So now this is a revelation, this is a dream that Muhammad had. He said that the Prophet said to her, "You have been shown to me twice in my dream." Now, twice. So when you have a revelation or a dream twice, it shows how important and how urgent it's just to confirm this revelation, that this dream, that hey, it is from God. You must take step on it. He said, "I saw you pictured on a piece of silk, and someone said to me, 'This is your wife.' When I uncovered the picture, I saw that it was yours. I said, 'If this is from Allah, it will be done.' Now he said, 'This is your wife.'" So it was clear here that this was Allah telling Muhammad, "Go ahead and marry Aisha." And what happened? Muhammad concluded the fact that if this is actually from Allah, then this is going to happen. So there is no mixing of anything here. Allah commanded Muhammad to marry Aisha. So this is Sahih al-Bukhari, and it is not against what the Quran is. It's not against the Quran. Surah 64, ayah 4. You can read it yourself. Now, you need to understand this. If a God should tell the greatest of all the prophets to marry a pre-recent girl, how are you going to feel? How are you going to feel? How are you going to feel? Are you imagine you dreaming from the Lord, from your God, and you slept? Then God told you, "Oh yeah, your 6-year-old daughter, go and give a hand in marriage to a 51-year-old man." Would you be able to rationale that kind of dream and say, "This is God speaking to me"? Won't you say, "This is Satan speaking to me"? That's left for you to decide. Now, another thing I want to point out is the fact that the hypocritical act of Muhammad. This is it. Muhammad actually knew that what he was doing was wrong. How do we know? Because in his marriage of his daughter, what he said, this is Sunan Anasai, and as you can see, this is a Sahih hadith, so you cannot say this is a weak hadith. So he said, it was narrated from Abdullah bin Burada that his father said, Abu Bakr. Who was Abu Bakr? Abu Bakr is the second caliph after Muhammad, and Umar is the third caliph after Abu Bakr. May Allah be pleased with them. Proposed marriage to Fatima. Fatima is the daughter of Muhammad, but the messenger of Allah said, "She is young." She is what? She is young. these two men, Abu Bakr is a friend to Muhammad and so Umar. At this time, um, um, there's a book that I wrote on Muhammad and pedophilia. It's on Amazon. I'll be dropping the link. The link will be in the description box. So you can click on the link and then go and read. But I make sure that I lower the price to about $0.9 or so that you can buy the book. But if you feel that you don't have enough money to buy the book, don't worry. I'm gonna give you a link that you can message me on Telegram. I'm going to send you a copy of the book all for free. So you don't have to pay anything. So but if you feel that you want to support the ministry, you can buy the book. You're supporting the ministry through that. But if you don't have, you cannot, that you don't have money with you, it's okay. The purpose of me writing the book is not to make merchandise of the gospel or to start selling or to make money. It's so that people, our Muslim brothers, can read and they can understand what this Allah and their God really is. I'm going to send the book to you all for free. I'm going to send the book to you so you can read by yourself. I spoke in-depthly on that book about the pedophilia act of Muhammad. So now she said she's too young. In the book, one thing the age of Abu Bakr was 51 years at this time, and the age of Umar was 41. Then the age of Ali that married Fatima was 23. So in the book, I gave you how I was able to get the age right from their date itself. So you can get the book all for free. Just message me. I'm gonna give you the book. So I'll give you the link to the book. So now, if Muhammad says she's too young, if his own daughter is too young to be given to Abu Bakr, who is 51 years of age, and Umar, who is 41 years of age, how young is Aisha to be married off to Muhammad at the age of 6? So you can see that this is hypocritical. Actually, from the age of Fatima in this place, Fatima is actually 9 years old, and Muhammad says she's too young. The 9-year-old daughter is too young, very young. I agree with Muhammad. She's too young, but he could have given her in marriage to Abu Bakr, who was 51. Actually, after all, Muhammad married the daughter of Abu Bakr, Aisha, at 6 years, and he was 51. So I don't see any need why Muhammad should reject the proposal of Abu Bakr at 51 to his own 9-year-old daughter. Now, this is another thing. Some scholars say that actually Aisha Fatima is beyond 9 years old. Actually, that she was 19. Now, if that true allegation is true that um, Fatima was 19 when Bakr and Umar asked for a hand in marriage, it only further confirms that Muhammad is an hypocrite. Why? Because if a 19-year-old girl is too young to be given to a 51-year-old man and to a 41-year-old man, respectively, how young is a 6-year-old girl to be given out to him at age 51? And yet, he now later on gave the hand of Fatima to Ali to marry. And according to some scholars says that the reason why Muhammad gave Fatima and the marriage to Ali is because Ali was of a suitable age. Even at that, if it was 19 years old, it shows that Muhammad is hypocritical. If Fatima was, if it shows that Muhammad was hypocritical in the sense that 9-year-old is too young to be given out to a 51-year-old man and to a 20 and to 50 and to a 41-year-old man. Definitely, Aisha also should also be too young to be given to him in marriage at 51 years. So he knows that he is actually doing the wrong thing. So whether which way, either the scholars want to play the 19-year-old age of Fatima or the 9-year-old age of Fatima, it all bends to the fact that this man is hypocritical. He knows exactly what he's doing. He only had flair for young ladies, for young girls rather, and that was the reason he had to marry Aisha. Nothing more, nothing less. He wanted to marry Aisha. Now, for a man that gives his own daughter and the marriage at the age of 9, does that not tell you that this man is a pedophile? You actually support it. Not just that, he even advised one of his followers, one of his companions, to even marry a young girl. This is Sahih Muslim. Now, I want to read with me. Abdullah died and he left behind 9 or 7 daughters. I married a woman who had been previously married. Allah's messenger, that is Muhammad, said to me, Jabbar, have you married? I said, yes. He again said, a virgin or one previously married. I said, messenger of Allah, with one who was previously married. Then, whereupon he said, that is Muhammad, why didn't you marry a what? Why didn't you marry a young girl? A young girl. Look at the girl. So that you could sport with her and she could sport with you. Why didn't you marry a young girl so that you could sport with her and so that she could sport with you? That is, Muhammad was saying that the older woman, a divorcee that you marry is not okay enough. Why can't you marry a girl that you can sport with her? Now, let me tell you something. What do you mean of sport? There's something we call sport sex. Sport sex is a kind of sex that you do for light reason without any string attached. You just for pleasure sake. That's what you do for sport. That's the type of sex that has to do with sports sex. So when Mohammed says sports, so you could sport with her, it means that so that you can just have pleasure of sexual intercourse, having sexual intercourse with a girl, you can have that sexual feeling. That's what Mohammed was meant here. Now look at what the reply that Jabbar gave Muhammad. Or so you could amuse with her, really for the sexual reason. Now I said to him, Abdullah died. He fell as martyred in Uhud and left 9 or 7 daughters behind him. I therefore did not approve of the idea. Jabbar said he did not approve of the idea that I should bring a girl like them. That is this girl that Muhammad is asking Jabbar to bring. Is like those girls of those girls of Jabbar's sister's age. But I prefer to bring a woman. Why? Who should look after them and teach them good manners. Now, Jabbar said he did not approve the advice of marrying a young girl like his own sister, a younger sister, because he wants a woman that can teach them good manners and that can look after them. Now, to me, if you would agree with me, Jabbar is more wiser than Muhammad. Jabbar is more has more better understanding of marriage than Muhammad. Why did I say this? Now, the purpose of marriage for Muhammad is so that you could sport with her and sport with you, so that you can have sexual pleasure. That's all. But the Bible said, no, that is not the purpose of marriage. The purpose of marriage is to build a godly children and to have a children with good character. Now look at what Muhammad now said. He said, whereupon he, Allah said, may Allah bless you, or he supplicated for the good to be conferred on me. Now, Muhammad now agreed to the fact that now this man is wise. This man, you actually have a point speaking this kind of thing, saying this kind of thing. Actually, you are right. I mean, now if Muhammad himself agreed to the fact that young ladies and young girls, they have nothing to offer in marriage. If Jabbar had gone with the advice of Muhammad to go and marry a girl like his own younger sister's age, Muhammad agreed with the fact that the girl cannot teach his own fellow girl good manners. It cannot bring them up and it cannot develop a solid home. Then what is the purpose of marrying Aisha at the age of 6? Can you please ask Allah and Muhammad, please? Why did Allah have to command Muhammad to marry Aisha at the age of 6? What did Allah want to bring out? What lesson did he want to give to the people? What lesson did he want to give to the Muslim community as a whole? That you have to ask the greatest of all your prophets to go ahead and marry a 6-year-old girl. Not just that, and to have sex with her at the age of 9. What purpose? What purpose does this serve? What problem does this solve in Islam or in the life of Muhammad? If marrying the girl does not bring stability to the home, if marrying the girl does not does not bring raising up young girls in good manners, then what is the purpose? According to Muhammad, the purpose is so that you can sport with her, and so that she could sport with you. Is this right here? I'm not sport with that was the purpose why he told Jabbar to marry a young girl, because to sport with her, to have sexual pleasure. That's it. And so we can say that this is the same reason why Muhammad actually married Aisha, for sexual pleasure, because he had flair for young girls. So he said, let me use Aisha as a case study. To experiment my sexual desires for young girls. And he actually did, and his God actually supported him. Let's continue, please. There's a saying that some people says that they try to put up some defense for Muhammad, that, oh, actually Muhammad, that it was what happens. It was possible. It was a normal thing for older men to marry girls in those time, in those age, that it is not so now. So, but then it was the common thing, it was a norms then, but now it is no longer a norm. So we are against it now. Now, this is the question that I'm going to ask those that are using these defense techniques for Muhammad. The question is, why did Allah made him a pattern for all Muslims? Muhammad is not just a pattern for Muslims in the past alone. He's a pattern for Muslims both past, both present, and both future. So as long as we are going to be having Muslims, that there will still be Muslims, Muhammad is the role model for every Muslim to follow. Now, is Muhammad a role model for the Muslim in the past and not a role model for the Muslim in the present? Of course, he's a role model for the Muslim in the present. So what he did in the past, you can also replicate it. If Muslim fails to say, and if Muslim says that what Muhammad did then is wrong, that means they're actually saying that their prophet is wrong. Indirectly, they are making Allah a liar, saying that when Allah says that Muhammad is of a moral, good character, is of a high moral character, and that in him is a perfect example for every believer to follow. So they are indirectly saying that Allah is a liar. So if any Muslims could admit to this fact, they've committed the greatest sin in Islam, which cannot be forgiven. So, and when you cannot have a sin that can be forgiven, then you're in danger of hellfire. Now, aside from that, let's away from that. The reason why Muhammad married Aisha was not because of the norms of that day. It was not. It was because of the commandment of Allah to him, because he saw her in a dream twice. She was brought to him twice. So in the dream. So it was actually Allah that said that commanded Muhammad to marry Aisha. So it was not because of what they were doing those times that Muhammad really had to marry Aisha. No, because of what Allah revealed to her, to Muhammad in the night vision, in the dream, twice. And they said, no, if this is from Allah, it will be done. And actually, it was from Allah, so it was done. So he ended up marrying her. Okay. So those people putting on the defense that actually it was a norms on that day. Now, another question I'm going to ask you now is that, did Muhammad come to fulfill the norms of those era? Did he come to fulfill the norms or the traditions that was being done in his own era? He did not. He came to fulfill the laws and the commandments of Allah. So he did not come to fulfill the norms of the era. So irrespective of the tradition that was being done over there in his own era, Muhammad is not obliged to follow after the norms or the traditions. He is only obliged to follow what Allah had told him to do. And actually, that's what he did. So the argument or the fact that he only followed tradition of those days, that it was a normal thing to follow in those days, is a weak one at that. And it does not hold any solid ground. Why is it that it is the tradition of sleeping with young girls that Muhammad actually followed? Why can't he also follow other traditions that were also being done in those era? I get what I'm saying? So we expect more from the prophet of God. If your tradition is wrong, then we expect that the prophet of God, whom God has sent to the world, should be able to correct it. Take, for instance, in Nigeria. In Nigeria, when you give birth to twins, it is a taboo when you give birth to twins in Nigeria. But Mary Slessor came to Nigeria and he stopped the killing of twins. So are you telling me down that if it was Muhammad that came to Nigeria and then he saw that They were killing the twins. Are you telling me that Muhammad is going to join them in killing the twins? We expect better. We expect more from a prophet of God, and not just a prophet, but from one that Allah Himself says that is the greatest. We expect more from Him. But I'm sorry to say, we did not see this in Muhammad. This example and pattern is not in Muhammad. Okay, so now some scholars or some Muslims says, actually, he did not marry her at the age of 6. He married her at the age of 18 or 19, and he had sex with her around those age. Actually, my question to them is that, where is your source? Where is your proof? Give me reference to everything you'll be saying. None of them is going to have a single reference, authentic reference, to be able to say, this is what the Quran says, this is what the Hadith says, this is what the Sirah says, this is what the Tafsir says, that Muhammad married Aisha at the age of 18, had sex with her at the age of 19. None. They cannot. But I can give you tons of Hadith, tons of Sirah, telling you that Muhammad actually married this girl at the age of 6 and had sex with her at the age of 9. Look at it. This is Sunan Anasai. Sunan Anasai. He said, the messenger of Allah married me when I was 6 and consummated the marriage with me when I was 9. And I used to play with dolls. Consummation means to seal it up with sex. You can go ahead and Google what consummation really means, so you understand that it was after 3 years that Muhammad actually had sex with Aisha. But in the midst of those, before the 3 years, you can press her breast, caress her, can have all those foreplays being done to her before she gets to 6, 9. So 9, actually, you can have sex with a 9-year-old girl. Boom. And that was what Muhammad actually did. And Muhammad, and I said, and I used to play with dolls. Do an adult play with dolls? No, only a young girl. But I know my Muslim friends, they will say, oh, there are adults that play with dolls. Who knows? Probably Aisha fall in this category. Yes. The next hadith is going to blow your bubble, and then you have to rethink. Now, this is Sayyid Bukhari. Now, he said, I used to play with dolls in the presence of the prophets, and my girlfriends also used to play with me. When Allah's messenger used to enter my dwelling place, they used to hide themselves, but the prophet would call them to join and play with me. Now, look at this. The playing with dolls and similar images is forbidden, but it was allowed for Aisha at that time. Why? As she was a little girl, not just a little girl, not yet reached the age of puberty. This is not me speaking. This is Sahih al-Bukhari. So the reason why Aisha was allowed to play with dolls is because that she was a little girl, number one, and she has not yet reached the age of puberty. So you cannot eat your cake and have it back again, your Muslim dear colleague and friends. It is, if any of your imam, your sheikh, anyone tells you that he married her at the age of 19, sex at the age of 19, or married her at the age of 7, and so Aisha stayed with her parents till she was old enough to have sex, then come back to Muhammad, then Muhammad had sex with her. Tell your sheikhs, your imam, your fast, your ustaz, tell them that they should provide the evidence and the source of what they are saying. If they cannot provide it and they are only saying it from their head, you should not take them for it, because that is not how Islam works. They must be able to prove it. Are you with me? Now, everything I'm saying here is not against what the Quran actually says, because some people will say we do not believe the hadith or the sirah that is against what the Quran says. The Quran actually and emphatically permits the marriage and the divorce of a pre-adolescent girl, and then you can see it here in Surah 64, Ayah 4. The waiting period of those of your women who have lost all expectation of menstruation shall be 3 months, in case you entertain any doubt. And the same shall apply to those who have not yet menstruated. So it is here in the Quran. You don't have any reason to doubt what the Quran has established. So when you see it in the Sirat, in the Hadith, in the Tafsir, it's just actually confirming and complementing what the Quran has said. Now to this question. The question you need to ask yourself is that, who is this God that permits the marriage of a young girl, child marriage? Do you know that child marriage has its own disadvantage? The only advantage of child marriage is to the man, is to the pedophile. E.g., example is Mohammed. Because it's only the man that feels himself sexually attracted to a young girl that's going to be feeling the pleasure. But it will be painful to the young girls. Not just that. Imagine a professional girl getting pregnant, and then there's a disease that is common in Africa. It is called fistula. Fistula is when the whole of the vagina and that of the this thing of the anus, when they are breached as a result of labor pain. When these young girls are going into labor, because their vagina is not yet wide enough, they are just growing. Now, another thing I want to let you know is this: the fact that a child is in a puberty stage does not mean that she's ready to have sexual intercourse, and does not mean that she's ready to conceive. Puberty is just a beginning, it's just a phase. It's going to take a time before all those organs will be fully grown and will fully matured. So when any laws or any religion is telling you that you can marry a proportional girl, you should know that this is not from God, because the God I know loves everybody. But did Allah not, did you know of a case of fistula? Do me a favor, go to Google, go and type the disadvantages of child marriage, and then you can Google it, and then you will see several disadvantages, cases of fistula, cases of diseases that are being infected upon the young girls at that age because of child marriage. It's so common here. Now, one of the reasons why child marriage still passes up to today, and why they still do it, is because, number one, the Quran supports it. Muhammad, who happens to be the pattern for all Muslims, did this. So who are you to say what the Quran says that is true is a lie, and what Muhammad did is wrong? So you cannot. You have to just obey and follow in the pattern and in the path of Muhammad. Now, I know fine Muslims. I have Muslims as a friend that they would never marry a proportional girl. They will never do that. But the truth is, none of them ever knows of this hadith. None of them ever knows of this verse of the Quran, because in their mosque, their Muslim leaders will never preach this part. Have you ever entered a mosque where you see the imam or the sheikh preaching and telling you that you can beat your wife and quoting the Quranic verse for you? They would never. They will only open the pages of the places that they know that it is useful for you to hear, but they will be hiding the hard part of the Quranic verses and that of the hadith. They will hide it away from you without you knowing. It is high time that you begin to study your text by yourself and know the secret that your people have been keeping away from you. Are you with me? Please. And I'm not by any means trying to bring down Islam. No, I'm only trying to point out to the facts, to the truth of this thing. If you as a Muslim does not know that your God actually permits child marriage, and to you, child marriage is young, which of you can marry your daughter off at the age of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 9? None of you would agree to that fact. None of you. But when a God is telling you that you should do this, that you can do it, then you should have to start rethinking that, no, this God, there will be something wrong with this God. I don't think this is the same God I don't think this is a true God. If the greatest of his own prophets could carry out this kind of attitude, then you should give you a rethink that this cannot be a true God, because if, humanly speaking, to you, this is wrong, we expect that God should even be so rigid and be so hostile to this kind of attitude, this kind of act. But rather, we are seeing that it is Allah himself that is actually even in support of it. Not just that, he was even the one that even commanded Muhammad to even carry it out. Not just that, Muhammad himself actually married his own daughter of Fatima at the age of 9 and actually advised Jabbar to marry a young girl. If you are still in doubt or you believe whatever these people are telling you, make your research by yourself. Everything I'm showing you, I'm giving you reference from Islamic most trusted sources. I'm not just saying it from my head, from the hadith. And all hadith I've shown you so far, they are all Sahih hadith. Sahih al-Bukhari, Sahih an-Nasai, Sahih Muslim, Sunan an-Nasai. There are so much that you can check. These are not just the places where these things have been mentioned. There are tons of references from the hadith that you can go on and make research from. There are tons. About 11 eyewitnesses witnessed this event and they narrated it in the hadith. And Aisha herself even said it. If you're a Muslim and then you begin to have doubt that this cannot be God, I'm not going to blame you. I myself, I agree with you that this cannot be God. And I invite you to Jesus. Jesus is the holy pattern that you follow. Because Jesus did not follow the norms and the pattern of the traditions of his days. Rather, he told disciples, you have heard that it has been said by them of old that ye shall love your neighbors and despise your enemies. But I say unto you, love your neighbor, do good to those that despitefully use you, and bless them that curse you. What more proof do you need that this man is the exact pattern and role model that you need to follow? I'm inviting you to Jesus today, that you accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and personal Savior and surrender all to him. He alone is worthy to be worshipped. He alone is worthy for you to serve. He is better off than Muhammad. He is better off than even Allah himself. I invite you to Jesus. Accept Jesus Christ today, and I'm telling you, he is going to share in your body. Thank you folks for joining me and for staying till the very end of this video. God bless you. If you know you have any question, feel free to drop them at the comment section, and there's a link to the Amazon page of where you can get my book on Mohammed and pedophilia. There I speak extensively on the pedophilia act of Mohammed. You can download it. It's just for about $0.99. It's so cheap. You can afford it. But if you know you cannot afford it, I'm going to drop a link to you whereby you can get the book all for free. We are not in this to make merchandise of the gospel. We are just in this just to shed more light and to lighten the eyes of our beloved Muslim community, so they can know that the God whom they call Allah and the prophet of this Allah whom they call Muhammad is a fake. And even right from their own texts and sources, it shows that they are all fake. I hope you are blessed and you enjoy this broadcast. Stay tuned with us. We'll be coming up again. I'll be coming up again to speak on pedophile in the Bible. So I'll be speaking it because there are some allegations from the Muslim society about that they are pedophile in the Bible. So I would want to bring out those sources out. Then we can speak about it, how we can, if in fact the pedophile in the Bible that God actually commanded pedophile, then we'll be talking about that in the next video. Until then, I commit to the God of grace and to the grace of God. Be healthy and be in contact with your Lord and personal Savior, Jesus Christ. So I come to you next time. Bye-bye.